Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann with Gold Derby, and I'm here with an incredible group of directors. Joining me today is Robert King for Elsbeth, Boots Riley for I'm a Virgo, Michael Dinner for Justified, City Primeval, Matthew López from Red, White, and Royal Blue, and Sterlin Harjo for Reservation Dogs. And your styles I think, are all so different. So I kind of want to dive into process a little bit. There's obviously many moving parts to a shoot and much work that has to occur before you even get on set. For each of you, what's the most important part of your preparation that when you do it, you say, okay, now I'm ready to take this on? I think Boots, we'll go with you first. I
Uh,
know you got something.
Finish the script. I'm luckily so far only doing stuff that, you know, creating. And so, yeah, it's as I'm going, I'm kind of getting prepared for it. I mean, with this thing, obviously there were other things. We had to figure out how to do stuff. So, I originally with this, I went, I live in the Bay Area, so we've got a lot of the old school folks that did like the original Star Wars and stuff. So I went to Phil Tippett and Dennis Muren and 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 uh and got them to like basically, co-sign and say, yeah, this can be done. And matter of fact, you can do it for cheaper than you normally would if you use, these techniques and you prepare. So it was you know, a constant development of, but I guess the thing is, I know I'm never prepared. So I don't wait for this magic time of feeling like, okay, now I got it. I'm just always um moving and getting more prepared and feeling scared and using that worry to dot my I's and cross my T's.
Do you use storyboard?
For this, we definitely had to storyboard.
So you storyboarded the visual effects, anything else?
We storyboarded the whole show because we had to know, oh, I had to prove, okay, that we could get this done in this many days. Like, here's all the shots that don't have any of these effects in it. And then we're only doing 2 shots on this scene, so we can get that done real quick. So a lot of it is me like convincing people that it can be done. So I have to storyboard, I have to use little dolls and take pictures and all that sort of stuff.
Who else feels worried and unprepared while you're making
Well, I
one
think
of your shows?
if you're not worried, then you've lost your edge. I mean, for me at least, that 25% of prepping to shoot is getting on the inside of the material. If you've written it, then you're already on the inside. But if you're a director on City Primeval, I wrote a good chunk of it. But if it's something that I haven't written, I like to say that directors have to think that they wrote it by the time they're done. I've worked with one writer. We've done 3 projects together, and at the end of working together, a friend of ours said, "Well, how was it?" I said, "Same as usual. When we're done, he thinks he directed it. I think I wrote it. It's a great marriage." But for me, at least, like I said, 25% is really about the preparation, is getting on the inside, and then I'll make 3 passes at a script, which is really about the visual language. And once I've made the first pass, I'm able to say, "Here's what the story is in visual terms from the beginning to the end." And then once I've done that, I have the ability then to walk on the stage or the location and tear it all up. And somehow we approach that, but it's kind of I think the safety net.
For me as a first-time filmmaker, there was never a moment where I felt entirely prepared because every day I had never encountered anything before. And so for me, I was lucky enough to have written the script, so I knew that pretty well. But everything else was a mystery to me. And for me, the pre-production process was learning how to make a movie. I had a great first AD. I had a fantastic cinematographer, Stephen Goldblatt, who had started making movies in the 1960s. So the thing that Stephen said to me the week approaching it, which sort of really calmed me, was like, you're not an inexperienced filmmaker, you're an unpracticed filmmaker. And by the end of the first week, you won't even be an unpracticed filmmaker anymore. And that actually was incredibly helpful to me. So, but just looking at how a movie was made, for me, that was the big thing.
And that's the
Yeah,
cool
for
thing
me,
about directing. If you don't, you should learn every time you go out. If you don't feel like you're going to throw up the first day of shooting, every time you go out, something's the matter. So it's an ongoing process, and it's an educational process.
and for me, I've never thought that you should feel like everything's gonna go well. I don't know. I just never did. From doing performances, I've been on big concerts and fallen over flat on my back and got up and was mortified and kept doing the show. And afterward, people said, "Oh, you guys killed it." So I know, like, I've only been able to calm myself by being like, whatever happens in an hour, the show is going to be over. Right. And that's that. Time keeps moving on. You just keep producing, and what happens is what happened. Right. And so I prepare as much as I can, and I'm fine with that. But my caring about it is knowing that I'm preparing.
Yeah, I feel like I have a panic attack usually like 2 nights before I shoot, and then I'm fine, and then I get on set, and as soon as you get there, you're like, oh, I can do it. Um, and then, I usually write a lot of the stuff that I do. So I know it so well that there's a different process for me if I'm directing something and I didn't write it, because I've been prepping it since I started writing it, like Boots was saying, but and so that translates right into being a director on it. And I tend to try to prep as much as possible, but also leave enough room for me to surprise myself and find things while I'm directing. I think that's a big key to it, especially how fast we move in television. If I'm too rigid, I can kind of get caught up doing that and not allowing things to organically change and feel right.
Yeah.
I think, your shows, all of them feature exceptional performances from the actors of all different acting styles. And I'm curious, what happens when you have a performer there and you can tell like there's like one more magic something that they need to really nail the scene. How do you go about talking to an actor to really get that performance out of them that you're looking for?
I'd say you'd have to know what that something is, right? And, because you can't very well go just say, I mean, I guess you could and just be like, hey, you need something more. But I think it's more about being in touch with the character and what's real. For me, I don't know. I'm sure there's all sorts of ways to do it.
I think for me, it's just my only direction is usually do 10% less or 10% more. Because usually they're in the right direction. You just need to bracket in on how broad or how real you want something to be.
I think that the trick is you have to figure out what the needs are of the actor. I mean, actors need different things. Sometimes they need a friend, they need a mommy, a daddy, a teacher, a disciplinarian, a collaborator, and you got to figure out what, or just someone who's the audience, who's able to react in a visceral way to the performance, and you need to figure out what are the needs of how can they feel safe, how can you get the best from them, and once you figure that out, it's gold.
I made a decision never to lie to my actors. I was always just incredibly honest with them about everything. And where that ended up helping me was not necessarily when I told them that they needed something else or that thing, something was missing. It was a really great tool when I told them it was great and they believed me. I was like, no, we don't need to do another one. We can move on. I have what I need. Being honest with them ended up being a time saver when things were going well.
Yeah, I'll usually try to figure out for me, like what it is that rings untrue about it, and then connect that to, like let's say an actor is doing, taking extra pauses because it feels grander. and I'll talk about what the real situation is that's happening outside that door or the next thing that they're trying to get to, instead of just saying speed that shit up, right?
Yeah.
I'll be, I want them to come to it because I don't want them to just speed it up. I don't want them to just talk fast where the character wouldn't. I'm trying to get in contact with why I think it needs to go faster to be more real, you know.
Yeah, you got to give them space to do their thing. I mean, I worked with a young actress one time who gave this amazing performance, and someone came up to me and said, "How did you get that performance from her? I mean, what did you do to get that performance?" I said, "You really want to know what I did? I got out of the way." And sometimes you have to learn how to get out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, directors are pretty full of themselves, but in fact, a lot of this is actors, and writing. I mean, we're probably more impressive for whatever we've written. The directing, I don't know. I
You
don't know.
cast the
Even
right
talk,
people
even
and then
answering
you
these
just let 'em
questions
go.
feels like we're inflating ourselves. It's you're working at the head of a massive collaboration. Um, I don't know. It's hard to talk about it, isn't it? Because I don't think we're not responsible for a lot of this.
But I think our job too is to react to what's happening. So just like actors, like we have to react to the atmosphere of the room, to what the crew had that day to eat. Was it awful? Like, was it good? Like, is it hot that day? What, like we're kind of like there to manage that and know what each actor needs separately from the other actors too, and I think that for me, that's kind of how I look at it. And yeah, it's like everything kind of goes out the window. Like the writing is the thing that I really just, you know, pour myself over and, get depressed about and whatever. Once I'm on set, it's like, oh, it's kind of reacting and like reacting to the environment that you're in.
Hmm.
I learned that I'm the first viewer. I'm the first watcher of the film. I'm in my monitor and I'm watching their performance as it happens. And my job, I'm editing their performance on set in so many ways. And my job is to tell them what I'm seeing and hope that they believe what I'm saying to them.
Are there certain directors that you all really admire and maybe try to emulate or at least get inspiration from in your career? Who are those people for you?
For me, Jonathan Demme, and I mean everybody's probably Kubrick, but Jonathan Demme is very good.
Emir Costa Rica,
Oh
Michelle
man,
Gondry, um, uh, Gaspar Noé, stuff that makes you repulse a little bit, and then gives me the obstacle of trying to pull people back in. As I want people to feel something, and if it makes them hate my thing, cool. Hopefully, at least the same number of people will love it.
I really admire directors when I watch their work, and it really feels like they have this point of view. I remember years ago, I watched two movies back to back in a couple nights when they came out. One was Heat, and the other was Babe. And someone said, "What are your favorite movies of the year?" And I said, "Well, two movies they're similar to me." And they said, "What?" I said, "Well, Heat and Babe." And they said, "Well, what are you talking about? Why are they similar?" And I said, "Well, because both directors kind of were unflinching in their point of view." I said, Heat, from the beginning to the end, and Babe, the pig turns to the camera 10 seconds in the movie and says, "I miss my mom." I felt like in both cases there were directors who just said, "This is the story I'm going to tell, and I'm not going to vary from that."
I tend to like make playlists of music with each project that I'm doing, and then I kind of treat films that way. So each project that I'm on, I'll kind of curate what I'm watching, and sometimes it's like less blank documentaries. A recent pilot that I just shot was Kusarita's Underground,
Oh,
and or then I'll go to like The Long Goodbye or like whatever's kind of like in the same place that I'm trying to speak from. I'll watch these documentaries. There's a documentary that Les Blake made called "A Poem as a Naked Person" about Leon Russell that came out a long time after it was made, and that was something that I watched recently for this project that I'm doing. So I kind of curate a different like playlists for myself on films. And Tony Scott's like True Romance or something, like it depends on what I'm making and like if it's an ensemble or if it's very specific. But that's kind of one of the fun parts, is just to kind of keep stuff playing as I'm cooking everything.
Did you
For me,
say that you're doing a pilot version of a series of Underground?
No. I said I was watching Underground for a recent.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For me, it was the screwball comedies of the 30s and 40s. I watched Preston Sturges films. I watched Howard Hawks. I probably watched Bringing Up Baby like half a dozen times. Really, for me, what it was just is like getting to understand how comedy works on screen with actors that I know are really adept performers, and just learning how they would just shoot these scenes in one and get their actors in a frame as much as possible together. And just what was said earlier is like, get out of the way early on and just sort of like figure out how much of this scene you can get in one. That way, watching all those directors just let their actors breathe and react and not edit so much of their performance. That for me was the big lesson that I took watching early stuff.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here with me today and for having such a great conversation, and really congratulations on all of your excellent work this season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Peace.